What would you do if your best friend invited you over to their house for the very first time and they had one rule? After 9 p.m., don't ever open the bedroom door, no matter what you hear behind it. First, you thought he was just joking, but when the clock struck 9 o'clock, he bolted the door shut. His hand was shaking. Don't open it, he said, even if it sounds like my mom. But then came a sweet, familiar voice. Yo, honey, I baked some cookies and I thought you wanted some. Open the door, but you just knew it wasn't her. It was someone else, someone very unfamiliar. And when you looked through the keyhole, you saw it. Creature made of wood and shadow, wearing his mom apron. That's when I realized he didn't bring me over to hang out. They brought me over to feed it. Welcome to Spooky Sin. My name is Ebony, and on this channel, I'm going to read spooky, scary stories, and it's really up to you to decide if they're real, they're fake, if you believe it or not. I hope you enjoyed this very first episode, and let's get into this spooky story. This is a no sleep story from Reddit, and I'll leave all the information and credit the author and all that on there. Let's begin. I'm so excited about this story. It sounds real interesting. We had been friends for over 13 years, and in those years, I had not once slept at his house. So, why the sudden invite? I asked. Settled the duffel on my shoulder, and he held the door. My parents are going out, he said. And the words came out of him kind of in a rush. Figure it's about time you saw my humble abode. The house was not very humble abode. It was a great white clapboard house that stood on the land as if it had been there forever, and the town had grown around it. Old oaks stood guarded over the grounds, and their shadows fell across the yard. Inside the house, there was a smell of old wood and polish, and something more beside it. A smell like burnt earth after the rain. His mother was a woman built of small bones, and she carried a frantic smile that did not touch her eyes. Not very friendly, kind of creepy. She moved around the dim rooms with a nervous energy, asking of drinks, and eyes was dark and still as they followed us as we passed. I heard his mother whisper words to him, urgent and low, but I could not make them out. Okay, so this is so suspicious. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. And at 7 o'clock, his parent left. So what's the plan? I asked. I dropped my bag on the floor of his room, and the room was a small island of ordinary in the house, with its posters and rumpled bed and console set before the television. It was the only place that did not feel as if it belonged in the dead. Pizza, video games, and the usual, Leo said. He knelt and woke the machine. He moved with a forced calm, but saw the cording in his neck. We ate pizza and played games, and for a time, I did not think of the house or the silence that lay coiled in the rooms. For a time, it was only the two of us and the sounds from the screen. Then near 9 o'clock, he paused the game. Hey man, he said. He would not look at me, but worked the controller in his hand. There's just one weird rule my parents have. Real weird rule? Yeah. He raised his head and eyes were serious as a stone. After 9 p.m., we have to be in here, in the bedroom, and we can't leave for nothing. For the bathroom, not for a drink, nothing. The door stays closed into sunrise. Weird. That's real weird. You know something? This made me feel like they are witches or vampires or something, or have some type of evil spirit or something that's going on. Like, if I would have heard that, I would have left before 9 o'clock. Like, uh-uh. Like, I would have been gone. Like, I would have got out of the house before 9 o'clock. I stared at his face and looked for the jest that was not there. You're kidding, right? What if I had to pee? Pee now, he said. His voice was flat. He gestured with his chin to an empty bottle on his desk, and after 9, you used that. I laughed. The laugh I had in my throat died there. Dude, that's insane. Why? He shrugged his shoulders, but that was the motion that was counterfeit. They're just super weird about security. Old house, they think that it's drafty. Drafty? I knew he was lying, but I didn't know why. Downstairs, the clock began to chime the hour and his head snapped towards the door. Bong, bong, bong. He was on his feet before the ninth bell had sounded its note. He crossed the room and closed the door. He slid a heavy bolt of steel into its housing. The sound it made was final. See, I don't like that. There, he said. Sweat had bloomed on his brows and he was breathing out the word. We're good. Leo, what the hell is going on? I demand. Nothing, man. Just a weird rule, he said. He would not look at the door. He turned up the sound of the game until it was a roar in the room, extremely loud. But I did not see the game. I saw the bolt and the coldness took root in my gut. The house was quiet again. Not the same quiet. This was listening quiet, like a waiting room quiet. And in the dark heart of the house, something waited. And we were locked in a room and waiting with it. An hour passed and there was no sound from the house. Fear went out of Leo slowly and he just played the game with a foreign calm. That did not sit right with him. We played in that silence and anxiety grew in me with the foolishness of it all. You really need to tell your parents that this is a certified way to raise a serial killer, I said. He back a fake smile. Tell me about it. There came a sound from the rooms below. It was a soft measured thump on the boards of the main hall. What was that? I whispered. Leo played on. He stared at the screen and his fingers worked the buttons as if he didn't hear it. It's nothing. The house just settling. That's not the house settling, Leo. The sound ceased. In the quiet, I could hear the blood in my own ears. Then came a new sound, which was like a dragging sound, a scraping of some great weight across the wood floor beneath us, as if a heavy thing with broken feet. I muted the television. Okay, that's definitely not the house, I said. Leo set the controller down upon the carpet. His face was pale in the shifting light of the screen. Just ignore it, Lamb. Please, it goes away if you ignore it. Oh no, I'm not ignoring nothing. Like, black people, we gonna turn off the noise and listening for whatever sound that is. And then we're making a plan to get out. We're not just sitting around waiting for something to happen. Like, this is not a true friend. He might have to go. That's evil presence right there. Oh, I feel a chill. Before he could answer, it spoke. The voice came from the hallway, faint at first, on the other side of the door. Leo, honey. I didn't move. The voice was his mother voice. Leo, sweetheart, your father and I came home early. I bought you boys some warm cookies. Open the door. I looked at Leo and saw a boy cast in tallow. He stared at the door as if the gates of hell itself. He raised a trembling finger to his lip and shook his head. Leo, that's your mom, I whispered. Don't be silly, sweetie. We're outside, the voice said. It was outside the door now. I just baked your favorites, chocolate chip cookies. They're getting cold. The scraping from below had stopped. There was only the sweet persuasion of that voice in the silent house. But the voice was wrong. There was a terrible perfection on its sound, like memory of a voice, but not the voice itself. Then came the knocking, and it was a soft, wet sound on the fair side of the door, as if a piece of meat was striking the wood. Ugh. That sounds so gross. I could just imagine like this sickening, wet, sticky sound. Ugh. Leo, Lamb, are you boys all right? You're being awfully quiet. Leo, I mouthed, but no sound came out. He sat upon the floor like a man made out of stone, his eyes wide with plead that had no words. He looked like something trapped. The knob on the door turned, once to the left and once to the right. Then it began to rattle, and it's fitting with a growing violence. Boys, this is not funny, the voice said. The sweetness broke in it. Then it was replaced with a hard, ragged edge. Open the door. Ugh. A great blow struck the door, and the frame of it groaned to the wall. I scrambled away from it on my hands and feet until my back was against the far wall of the room. The voice changed. It spoke again. The voice was ruined, a low, grotto thing that gurgled in his throat. I know you're in there. The wet tapping began again, faster and now frantic. It came a thin and keen whine. It sounded like wind through a crack in the world, and a dark gap beneath the door, and a black vicious fluid began to seep into the room. Okay. Yeah. Because I guess the door wasn't stopping nothing, so it just goes underneath the door. Like, at this point, just kill me. Just off me. Oh, my heart is beating fast now, but I can't imagine being in that situation. Thick as oil and carried the smell of the grave, wet soil, and things that rot in the earth. Leo moved and he crawled to the bed and pulled the blanket over him. It became small, stuttering shape in the dim room. He had gone into his own darkness, so you just gonna leave me there to die. You just leave me there to die. I don't know what's going on, and you just leave me there to die. I hope it get to you first. I really do. On the other side of the door, the thing fell silent. I knew it wasn't going. I knew that in my bones. It was there in the darkness beyond the door, and it was waiting. I kept my back on the fair wall and watched the door. Beneath was a small and panicked thing in my throat. On the bed, Neo was a trembling knot of blankets and fear. For me, this was a nice journey into the darkness. For him, it was a place he lived. Okay, now I kind of feel bad. And in a foolish curiosity which has begun in my ruin, more than once worried with terror. I need to see the shape of the thing that hunts us. See, now you just being nosy. Now you just being too nosy. A dreadful truth was better than not knowing. I went forward on my stocking feet, and the old board did without a whisper. No, Lamb. Lamb, no, came a voice from the bed, muffled by clothing. Don't look. But I would look. I knelt upon the floor, and the reek of grave was strong. I lowered my head to the cold brass of the keyhole. At first, there was only a dim hall and the moonlight that fell a pale blade from the window at its end. Then stepped into the narrow view. It was not a man, nor was it a beast. It was a thing that was built of sticks and shadow, impossibly tall and thin. Its limbs were limbs of winter tree, and its body was a genre of dust and night that had no true form. It sounded like a spirit. This sounded like a evil, dark spirit. It wore its it wore his mother floor apron, the clothes scratching over a hollow space where the chest should be. It wore his father's hunting cap set upon his head. That was the only cloth that moved in the dark. It had no face, just a void. Okay. Ugh. And one of his twig-like hands held a picture it had seen on the wall, a portrait of the family. It held a picture before the void where its face should be, where it wore a smile of Leo's mother from it. His body, it put forth a long black twig of an arm and tapped upon the door. Thump, thump, thump. I threw myself back from the door and clapped my hand to my mouth and kept the gorge from rising. Yeah, I would be sick to my stomach too. Like, you just being nosy. Ugh. And this what you get for being nosy. Cause like so I feel like with some stuff, once you see it, even though you're out that space, you never is like truly away from it. You will always see and picture that, feeling and everything in your mind, if that makes sense. Like the experience don't go away. Or the picture that you saw, the thing that you saw. It doesn't leave your mind. Mine cannot hold the shape of what I've seen. That was no creature that had entered the house. That was the house itself, a parasite that wore the stolen keepsake of the dead or soon to be dead for its remnant. The door, a new voice whispered, and the blood in me went to ice. Lamb, why are you hiding in there? Your mother is so worried about you. It was my own mother's voice. Perfect. The voice she used when I was a child and was sick with fever. All from supper from a life I would never see again. A wave of homesickness and of horror washed over me, for I wanted to be home and I was not. Ing in the hall gave a low chuckle that sounded of dry leaves scattering on the stone wall. It knew it found a soft part of me that was soft. Let me in, lamb. In my mother's voice, it whispered, a sound of loving and poison. I've come to take you home. I fell back to the wall and slid to the floor. I felt the heat shim in my thighs where my body had betrayed me. I looked at the trembling shape on the bed. The bottle that he had offered had not been a joke. It had not been a rule of kindness, a tool for survival, for he knew it all. The scraping began upon the door itself, a slow and patient sound, as if the claw began to sharpen upon the wood. All the while, it whispered my name in a voice of my mother, and it promised me an end to it all, as if I would unlatch the door. Hours passed in that room, and the thing outside did not cease its heist. It spoke in the voice of the living and those I could not know. A gallery of ghosts at the door. It offered warmth and food. It promised an end to a long night, and all the while it scraped at the wood with patience that was a madness to hear. The fear had burnt away in me and left a hard, bitter anger. I was angry at the thing in the hall and at the people who built it in a cage and called it a home. I was angry at the boy who hid in his blankets and would not speak. I would too, because you knew this happened every night and you invited me to your house. So at this point, I'm a sacrifice. That's what it was. Hours had passed. Leo, I said in my voice, was a dark creak in my throat. Leo, wake up. Shape stirred in the bed. He looked out from the pale vultures of his sheets and his eyes was raw with fear. Is it gone? He whispered. No, it's not gone, I said. I need to know what this is. Now, no more lies. What is this thing? He flinched from the sound of my voice. He sat up on the bed and hugged his knees to his chest and would not look at me. I don't know what it is, he mumbled to the door. We just call it the Nightman. It always been here, as long as my family has. The story came out of him then, a broken tale in the dark. His great-great-grandfather had built this house upon a hollow ground, and from the first night there was wrongness in the wood and in the walls. A bargain had been struck in that time, an unspoken covenant with the darkness. The family would have the house by the light of the day, but from 9 until dawn, the house was given over to the others. It gets lonely, Leo whispered. A tear cut a clean through path through his face. It likes to play. It mimics people. It uses things it finds to try and make its body for itself. The apron, the hat, the picture. But it's getting bolder, he said. His voice trembled in the small room. It used to just make noise. Now it tries to get in. The rules were enough before. Stay in your room. Don't look. Don't listen. But now it wants more. His eyes finally met mine. I saw the guilt, as deep as and as cold as well. It wants somebody's new. The cold truth settled in my the cold truth settled in my soul. It wanted me. What I knew. The sudden invite. Fear in his parents' eyes. Yeah, they set you up, buddy. You got set up. The heavy bolt on the door. You you brought me here for it? No, I didn't want to, the boy voice broke. My parents. They said it was getting too strong and that it wouldn't be satisfied with just them anymore. They said if they had someone new, someone not from the family, maybe it would be satisfied. Maybe it would leave us alone for a while. Yeah, they set you up, buddy. They set you up. I will punch him. Like, hey, no violence. I don't like doing violence. But in this situation, pow, pow, pow. Cause like why? I mean, we've been friends for 13 years, and this the kind of stuff you do. Mm-mm. He had led me here as a lamb to the altar. His parents had not gone out. They were in this house in their own locked room, and they was listening. They was praying that the beast in the hall would choose me. And then the scraping stopped, and the house fell into a quiet so profound it was like the earth had stopped turning. What's happening? I breathed. Leo's eyes grew wide. From the floor below, a new sound came. The sound of feet on the stairs, a heavy football, and it dragged the dead weight. Thump, drag, thump, drag. It was not trying to trick us. The game was done. The footsteps ceased outside our door. The silence held for a count of three. Then a crack like thunder sound as a great force struck the door. Wood splintered and the deadbolt screamed on his hinge. Crack. The Spirit of the Lord is here. I feel it in the atmosphere. I rebuke this. I rebuke. I rebuke this in the name of Jesus. Cause fine dust of ruined wood fell upon the floor. It's never done this before, Leo whimpered. He crawled away from the dark corner of the room. It never tried to break the door down. Crack, bang. The deadbolt was torn from the frame like a tooth from a jaw. The door swung inward on its hinge, and a sad and final groan. Doors open now. In the blackness of the hall, I saw it. There was no void. It had filled itself. Its body was a terrible congress of things stolen from the house: floorboards for shins, a rust pipe for its arm, a torso, a twisted cage of stairs, banisters, and within the cage, I saw my own duffel bag, and it pulsed like some dark and foreign heart. Its head was the grandfather clock from the hall. It leaned upon its neck of twisted wood and pendulum swing behind the glass surface like a wind of frantic eye. What? Pendulum. And the pendulum swing behind the glass face like a wild and frantic eye. Okay. From the clock, a voice came, not one voice, but all of them. A discordant chorus speaking as one. Time's up. Look, I would have tried to run past that thing so fast. Like, like I'm running out this house because, or jumping out the window, one or the other. And if I can't open up the window, I'm getting something to bust the window because I'm getting up out of this house some way, somehow. The door swung on its ruined hinge, and the thing assembled from the house bones stepped into the room. Its coming was a grinding of parts, a clicking of old wood and metal, and the air filled with a smell of sawdust and deep earth from the grave. Leo, it cried out, a sound of pure terror that was lost in the noise of the thing as it advanced. Hot and primal fear seized me. Not of a predator, but of a thing that was wrong in the world. I took up the glass trophy from the desk and threw it with all the strength I had. It struck the face of the grandfather clock, and the glass shattered into a spray of bright shards. The thing reeled back. It made a sound like all the clocks in the world striking some final clammiest hour at once. Y'all get it. It gave us a moment. The window, I screamed, "Ew!" I grabbed Leo by his arm and dragged him, for he was a thing of stone. My fingers were sticky with sweat, and he slipped upon the window latch. It would not give. It had been painted into its frame. The thing rightened itself. The broken glass of its face caught the moonlight in a thousand crazed points of light. It came for us, its arm of rust pipe raised to strike. The bed! Help me with the bed, I yelled. Adrenaline found him at last, and he moved. We set our shoulders to the heavy oak bedstead and turned it into his side and made it of a poor flimsy barcade. Stumbled into the mattress, and his feet, made of chairs, legs, and other things, became tangled in the sheets, and it roared. It began to tear the bed apart with his hand, ripping the guts out of it and into the floor. I hope y'all running. I hope y'all not just watching this thing tear the bed into shreds. I hope y'all are running. We were trapped. See, we were trapped in the corner of the room with the windows at our backs. The sun, Leo gasped. His eyes were wide. It's the only thing. It has been inside before the sun came up. I looked into the night and the sky was deep and starless black. We did not have hours. The creature tore itself free from the ruined bed and it came on slow now, for it knew we were its own. It raised a hand and made a silverware from the kitchen, the fork and spoons bound together to make shiny and terrible claws. Then I saw a thing tucked behind the television, a high-powered flashlight. Last and desperate thought came to me. See, you're thinking big. You're thinking big now. I like that. I lunged and took the cold metal of the flashlight. The thing was upon me. I smelled the dust of its body and saw the brass pendulum swaying in its broken face. I found the switch and a great pillar of white struck it full in its head. It shrieked a sound of pure agony. The light did not burn it, but seemed to unmake it from itself. The spoons of its hand clattered to the floor. The floorboard on its... Wait, so you telling me all y'all had to do was keep the lights on? So it doesn't matter if it's the sun, it's any lights. So basically y'all need lights or flashlights or something that's not connected to its house itself. You just need some form of light. And y'all had this house in y'all generation for how long again? Oh, see, calm down. Floorboard on its lid split and fell away. The light was a poison to the thing from the very beginning. It shielded the ruin on its face with a pipe arm and stumbled upon the shadow by the door. And in that room began the longest watch of my life. I held the light out like a sword, and the beam of it was the only thing that held the creature at bay. Leo huddled behind me. Nah, get from behind me. Because as soon as I get done with this creature, I probably would have hit him with the light upside his head and cried out when it scattered at the edge of the room. We were keeper of the light against the great pressing dark, and the strength in my arm burned away and the batteries fueled our light would not last. The creature would launch and I would drive it back with the beam, and we would wait and listen till it breathed in the shadows. Hours passed in this way, and the stalemate between the light and the darkness, the beam of the light began to fail. It flickered. Leo, you need to be finding some type of device that makes some type of light, foam, something. Because we need to keep this light on this person or this creature, I mean, this spirit, this evil spirit. Dying, I guess. Just a little longer, Leo urged, his eyes fixed upon the window. Just a little longer. The creature knew. It gathered itself in the darkness and the beam dimmed to a sad yellow glow. And with a final triumphant roar, it charged. And in that same moment, a pale gray line was drawn upon the black horizon. It was the first sign of dawn. Oh, thank you. Oh, the thing struck me and the flashlight was knocked from my hand. I was on the floor and the monster stood over me. Its clock face bent low, and I saw my own reflection in the arch of the swinging pendulum. The pure ray of morning sunlight pierced the window and touched the creature's back. Then it froze. A profound stillness came over it. Then it began to come apart. The clock head crumbled into fine dust, the pipe arm fell from its shoulders and clattered on the floorboards. The banister of its chest unwound, the stolen silver and splintered wood and my duffel bag all collapsed into a heap in simple things. All was left was a pile of refuse and thin layer of gray dust that smelled of grave. The sun streamed through the window and filled the ruined room with light. I lay upon the floor and gasped for a breath. Leo wept against the wall, a sound of relief and terror. We had lived. Not for long. Because Leo would have had to go. His whole family would have had to go. Like, I'm telling every single one of them. There was footsteps in the hall, not of a monster, but of a man. The door to his parents' room opened, and a moment later they stood in our doorway. They did not look at the ruin of the room, nor at the pile of debris on the floor where the creature had been. And then they looked at me, and I saw in their face not relief or any gladness, but a deep and bottomless disappointment. The horror did not end. I knew that the plan had failed, the sacrifice had not been made, the thing that the house would be hungry when the sun fell again. I was the only one that got away, and for this, they would never forgive me. And that's the end of the story. What did you think? As soon as that light would have came up, I would have swung on all of them. And what is there to forgive? Y'all used me as a sacrifice. Y'all trying to give me to this thing. What is there to forgive? If anything, I shouldn't be forgiving y'all. I mean, I would have swung, I would have tore Leo up. I mean, he would have been boneless. And then I would have called the police on them and told them that they tried to kill me. And then I would have been out the house. But after I wore Leo out, I would have been out the house. And then I would have called the police. But yeah, what do you guys think about this story? It was fascinating, interesting, kind of long, but I like it. If you enjoyed this story, please like and comment, subscribe below, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.